Okay, good morning, everybody. Can I just check with those of you who are on Zoom that you can see me, and more importantly, that you can hear me okay? That's great. Okay, so Shane is on the line as well. Shane, I'm just going to drive on into things unless there's a reason not to. So you're all very welcome to this brief training session about remote teaching. I'll give you an overview of what we're going to cover in a moment, but first maybe we'll do some introductions. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Gearóid Ó Súilleabháin. I'm head of the Department of Technology Enhanced Learning. Shane, I don't know if you want to introduce yourself as well.
Hi everyone, my name is Shane Cronin. I'm a colleague of Gearóid's in the department, and I'm an e-learning designer developer.
Okay, thanks very much, Shane. So myself and Shane are going to be doing a bit of a two-hander with you this morning. So I'll do the first half, and then I'll be handing over to Shane. So we are from the Department of Technology Enhanced Learning. We work and have been working for a long time in that whole space where teaching and learning meet technology, as it were. We support the Institute's e-learning technical infrastructure, including the Canvas system. And we also help support a whole range of fully online programs. And I suppose we'll be drawing from some of those approaches taken with the online programs in offering options for remote teaching. So it's good to know that these are tried and tested approaches. In addition, we do a lot of commercial e-learning work, and we do a lot of exploratory research work in the field. So there's a lot that we have to draw from there. So in terms of what we're going to cover today, you'll be sick of me telling you about them, but I'm going to start by overviewing again the 3 remote teaching options that we're supporting. I want to share with you some screenshots of the department's website and point out to you the various different resources that are available there. There's some general tips that I want to offer about remote teaching, and then it's over to Shane, who will be offering a closer look at each of the remote teaching options. We'll talk to you about who to contact for what, and there will be, for those who are joining us through Zoom, I know a lot of people are joining us through YouTube, and perhaps many more who will watch the recording afterwards, but the questions and discussions will take place on Zoom only after the broadcast, as it were, has finished. So the options, as have been described already in an email that I sent out, are basically as follows. In some contexts, people have been talking about these as different levels, if you like, which is perhaps a good way to kind of think about it. So level 1, and they are, by the way, options. We're calling them options because there's nothing being mandated here. These are just choices for people. These are just different facilities, I suppose, that we're supporting. So anyway, level 1, using the Institute Learning Management System, Canvas, to do various different things, to share learning content, for example. So learning content could be anything. It could be Microsoft Word documents, PDFs, or maybe something a bit more media rich. Also, you can use Canvas to support different kinds of communication, collaboration, and announcements. There's 2 key ways of doing that, I suppose, which Shane will point out to you later. And you can also use Canvas to facilitate certain kinds of continuous assessment. So it's not, we're not suggesting it's full replacement therapy for exams or a number of other kinds of assessment methods, but you can, for example, have quizzes, and you can also use Canvas as a kind of a digital pigeonhole, if you like, for students to submit work. Canvas then is central to the other 2 options. So option 2 is for people, I suppose, who want to create content that goes beyond Microsoft Word or PowerPoint or PDF, and maybe maybe want to offer something like a software demo or a narrated slideshow, or a slideshow with a voiceover, some kind of instructional video or something like that. And all of that you can do using screencasting software. I mean, there's lots of ways you can do it, but the way we're supporting, the way we're suggesting you might do it is using screencasting software that we have licenses for the whole college. And then the way it ties back to Canvas is that once you've produced this video or this resource, you share it again through Canvas, in much the same way as you would share any content through Canvas. There was an integration more directly with Canvas that we were looking at, but in the end, we decided it was just too complicated, essentially, for people to use. The last option then is very similar to what we do for online programs, and it essentially means running a live online class with students. And that's using a conference feature called Big Blue Button, which is now directly and neatly integrated into the Canvas system. So those are your basic three options. Lots of other things are possible, obviously, but these are the three options we're kind of pushing, as it were. If you go to the department website, which is, as you can see on the left there, tel.cit.ie, you'll see that we've really turned our whole website over to the whole matter of supporting remote teaching and offering further information on those three options that have just been through: the Canvas, the recording content, and the delivering live content. And I just wanted to kind of emphasize how much stuff is available on each of these already, and it's a growing list of resources really that we're offering. So that's what the page for Canvas looks like. Now, many of you might remember Canvas being announced as the winner of an extensive tendering process. I think Shane will talk to you a bit about why Canvas was chosen and the benefits, I suppose, that are most relevant, let's say, in the current situation. But I will say in passing that one of the key reasons it was chosen was because it was so user-friendly. Since we rolled it out across the whole college in February of last year, we've received a lot of feedback to confirm that. And indeed, we did a lot of research along the way that suggested that it was indeed a very intuitive system to use. So lots and lots of resources there already that we had already put in place, and a number of other ones that we've made available specific to the remote teaching context. If you click on the link for recording your computer screen, you will get lots of information about using screencasting software. So screencasting software is nominally software for recording what's happening on your computer screen, but the same software, as mentioned, can be used to record video and make narrated slide decks and so forth. And then last but not least, if you click on the blue link, there's lots of information there about conducting a live online class. So at the heart of our online distance education system in CIT is this live online delivery of classes. It's been working really well for nearly 9 years now, and it's being done across 25 different online or blended courses. We're using a slightly different system here, but the system we're using actually integrates much more tightly with Canvas, and we hope people will find it easier to use than the Zoom system that some of our online lecturers would be familiar with. Back to the main page, what you might miss on this main page actually is the Find Out More button. I'm just kind of pointing at there, and the Find Out More button will take you to a kind of a page with various different kinds of tips on it. And it links to this remote teaching page, and that remote teaching page links to tips on remote teaching. I might just take you through one or two of these, if that's okay. So some initial tips, which I'm kind of, I suppose, offering without really talking too much initially about the technology. So these would be, sorry. So one early first tip is to plan what you'd like the students to achieve. So really, this might be no more than some rough notes about what you'd like your students to do or what you'd like to achieve with them during their time away from campus. So plans help the students prepare for what's coming down the line and help them prepare for what's coming up. Similarly, you might decide to do a bit of work in establishing everyone's responsibilities right from the get-go. So, you know, you could offer more detail on what you specifically expect students to be doing on an ongoing basis. You know, so that might just be something simple like, you know, you should review all of the notes I've uploaded to Canvas, or you should watch the screencast that I've uploaded, or you should complete assignment 1 before the end of the week, or you should be prepared for an in-class test by the time you kind of come back away to the physical campus, to college. So doing this, I think, makes it more explicit to students what exactly they should be doing while they're away from college, and you know, maybe it gives a counterpoint to the sense that this is time off as well as being time away from campus. Similarly, I think it's good to try to keep students engaged and updated. So we know this from our students who learn at a distance, that they can feel a little bit isolated and disengaged. So really, this is all about making sure that students see that things are happening. So, you know, I said I wouldn't mention the technology yet, but using Canvas announcements or simply using email is a good way to share updates, things about things like, you know, what students should now be getting on with, or what readings they should be making their way through, or what's coming up next, or maybe to the fourth point, some information about an upcoming feedback session. So in terms of communication and feedback in general, I think students have a lot of opportunities on campus to look for help and opportunities to talk to each other. It's difficult and it can be time consuming to do this online, but there are a few options available that Shane will be covering later on in terms of keeping up the contact with them. Something that came up at one of the senior staff sessions was the idea of maybe providing a lot of stuff to students up front. So, you know, in some cases, it might be appropriate to provide students with as much as you can, you know, in terms of notes or screencasts or what have you, early on, and that allows them to kind of upfront or otherwise pace their learning efforts, especially in a context where maybe they can't work in a kind of a consistent way over time. And you might find it a more efficient use of your own time, you know, if you're kind of sitting down doing a lot of recordings or producing a lot of notes, to do that all in one run and then free up your time to do other things like communication and update or what have you. And then the final tip, and it's probably the most important one of all, is to use the different supports available. So Shane will be going through this, but just to mention, even if it is a repetition, Canvas provide 24/7 support. That support has now been extended to cover Big Blue Button, as to cover the conferencing solution, which is called Big Blue Button, as well as covering Canvas itself directly. There's also the knowledge base that I was just kind of showing you on the website. And there's also the TEL team email address, which is tel.team@cit.ie. IT services are doing a great job supporting things like Microsoft Teams as well, and you can make contact with them in the usual way through the service desk. And then obviously there's lots of other training going to be provided by the Technology Enhanced Learning Department. That's in addition to today's session. So there's going to be more specific training provided on, well, each of the three options. I'll just flick back there. I think I might have missed a slide. Yeah, and that's to say that ultimately all of the content that I was kind of sharing with you are all of the kind of content that each of those areas in our website ultimately link to goes back to this, which is the knowledge base that I referred to earlier. Now, one important point I want to make here, and I'll be sending an email about it, is We've received a lot of offers of help from staff during this time, and one way in which we're going to leverage some of that goodwill is to ask people to submit articles as well. So watch out for that. We're very interested in getting information from staff, content from staff about their personal reflections, their workarounds, their insights, their tips, their maybe applications of some of the technologies and platforms we've made available to specific kinds of problems that they might be dealing with. So look out for that one as well. We'll be crowdsourcing more content there. I have a meeting to get to, so I'm going to hand over to Shane at this point, if that's okay with you, Shane.
Yeah, sure, no problem. Okay, everybody, you're very welcome to this session this morning, and thanks, Gearóid, for that bit there. So I'm just going to run through a couple of the technologies involved here, the options that you have available to you, and also talk about maybe some of the supports that go with those. So there are, as Gearóid said, 3 main categories of options available to us in terms of the technology. And they are Canvas, the ability to screencast or record content, and the ability to deliver online live. So I'm just going to run through a few of those options. Now, I suppose it's important to note that we'll be doing pretty detailed training sessions on these over the next 2 days. All of those sessions will also be recorded. So tomorrow we'll be running a session on each of those themes and telling you how what options are available to you to support remote teaching and learning. So I suppose this is really just a kind of an overview to tell you what those technologies are initially. So the first one is Canvas. A lot of you will already be familiar with this. If you aren't, and if you haven't access to it for some reason, please do contact Service Desk if there's any enrollments issues, and they'll be able to assist you there. Obviously, Tier 1 support, which we have with Canvas, is a big thing. So we're only a small team. I suppose we're doing our best to reply to everyone in the one-to-one tickets that we're getting. But also, I suppose it's important to note that there's a big team out there remotely supporting Canvas through the Tier 1 support, and that's through the web chat, the phone, and email. The primary options available to us there in Canvas are, and these are just a sort of overview, I suppose, communicating with your students. Gearóid mentioned that. So that's a really, really important thing initially, I guess. You know, I suppose setting out the roles, responsibilities is good. Communication using announcements at a very minimum is a good idea. I think, you know, you can send out almost like a bulletin to your students, and that just goes to everyone enrolled on the module. So that would be for each respective module that you're teaching on online. Hosting learning content, obviously. So that's where you can just, at a basic level, just upload PowerPoint slides, any learning resources, and you can host, you know, recorded content as well. So we'll be talking a bit about that in the screencasting. You can run automated assessments, so there'll be more on this also. So a lot of staff on the ground have been very active on this as well. So we'll be hoping that we can get some nice sort of contributions from staff as well that are already using automated assessments. So that would be multiple choice question banks that can be shared amongst staff, you know, in departments, and the ability to sort of run these online, where your students are then given automated feedback in a very immediate way. So there's a lot of options there, and we'll be talking about those as well. You can also run, as Gearóid said, live online classes through Canvas. So that would be using that conferences feature, which is tightly integrated with Canvas. just sort of rolling back a small bit, I suppose Canvas, I suppose we're 13 months into using the platform now, and it's really proven its worth, I suppose, in terms of a learning platform in CIT. So I suppose we had an early adopter period from September 2018, and it was rolled out to all staff since February of last year. And it really has proven itself, I suppose, as a really bulletproof system that allows us to host learning content, to engage with our students, and to manage all different types of integrations and extensions to the platform as well. I suppose it's good to say as well, there's a lot of benefits in terms of why the thing was chosen in the first place. So in that early adopter phase, we went through a lot of usability testing with staff and students. And I suppose a few things really bubbled up there. So they were, I suppose, the ease of use, mobility. So the option for students, especially at the moment, which is important to be able to use the mobile offering for Canvas, and the associated sort of integrations like Turnitin and conferences, etc. Learning analytics will become more important, I suppose, especially when we're doing stuff at a distance. So that will mean you have more of a sort of a gauge for how students are engaging with your module content, and to be able to communicate them based on certain attributes, so certain engagements there. So we'll be talking about that as well. Integrated media, so you can record audio and video straight into Canvas. So I think that's a really nice way of getting going with communicating with your students. You know, you can record audio or video messages into Canvas as announcements, but you can also record really rich feedback into the grade center for assignments or formative assessments. You know, so that's a really good way to be able to engage with your students and give them rich feedback. The SpeedGrader is that way of marking assignments and adding feedback, which is kind of linked with the integrated media bit, and also then the 24/7 support. That was a huge thing, really, you know, to get tier 1 support for Canvas, which is now, as Gearóid said, extended to the conferencing feature. So those details are all the same, really. You have that 24/7 telephone support number, the support@instructure.com email address. So don't be shy to use those. They're assuring us, in fairness, that there's capacity there, and they're very receptive. Obviously, there's a lot of demand on these services at the moment, but you'll get sort of prompts as to, you know, how long a ticket could take to answer if there's any delay. So I suppose the second thing, so again, look out for the Canvas. There's a Canvas session tomorrow and on Friday, and that will cover in more detail the stuff that I was talking about there. So recording content is another option available to you. So that's where primarily we can obviously record into announcements in Canvas. We record audio and video into either announcements or into the rich text editor in Canvas, which is available in Pages and other areas. But also there's this tool called Screencast-O-Matic. So Screencast-O-Matic is a screencasting tool. It allows you to record your screen and record the audio from your device, whether it's an inbuilt microphone on your laptop or your PC workstation, or whether it's a headset. And that application allows you to kind of pre-record content. So very effective for recording, you know, slide decks where you have a narration over them, but also for software demonstrations, for training, etc. So you'll see a lot of screencasts coming out from this department in the coming days and weeks to support you all in use of the tools that I'm mentioning here. And there's a screenshot there of Screencast-O-Matic. Now, it's worth noting, I know people on the ground as well are using different screencasting applications, and that's perfectly fine. Other ones are the likes of Camtasia, and you can continue on to use those. There's no problem. I suppose Screencast-O-Matic has been provided to staff in CIT as a site-wide license, so we now have a premium version of that. And if you want to access that, the license is available on our help center under screencasting, and you have a 3-step guide there to installing that application. So first of all, you request a license. So that's the site-wide license for Screencast-O-Matic. And then you can download the application and you have a license then to do your screen recordings. So that's a nice option there. And just another one, I suppose, in the lineup. The other one, I guess, is delivering live. So this is quite maybe a new concept to a lot of people. We're just providing it as an option, and it's, as Garrod said, available through conferences in Canvas. Now we will be doing a dedicated training session on this as well tomorrow and Friday. But essentially what it allows you to do is to deliver live sessions through your module in Canvas, and that is available in conferences on the main menu of your module. So this is, this is kind of a similar interface to the likes of, Teams or any conferencing applications like Skype or Zoom. But the real benefit here is that it's fully integrated with your Canvas module. So all of your enrollments, your students, and your lecturing staff that are on a module enrolled, you can basically set up online sessions, whether they be classes or whether they be just group meetings with the people that are enrolled in your module. And I suppose the really key thing as well, obviously, then is that you can record those sessions. So those sessions are recorded and made available then in that module for students to play back at any time. So again, with Big Blue Button or the conferences feature, we've, as an institute, purchased a site-wide license for this, so that staff can use this tool to deliver live online if they wish. So you can use your webcam, your audio feed, whether it's a headset or your inbuilt microphone, to deliver narrated slide decks and so on. You can run polls, you can screen share, so you can share whatever is on your desktop. And also you can run really interactive things like breakout rooms, which are useful for group-based sessions. So if you're doing a lot of group work with your students, you can kind of simulate what would happen in the face-to-face environment by breaking your students out into different groups and letting them interact with each other. So that's kind of the conferences feature. I think there'll be a lot of interest in it. So obviously look out for those dedicated sessions on those tools tomorrow and Friday to begin with anyway. The other thing worth mentioning, I suppose, in this context is we've had a few queries from staff wondering how are students going to interact with each other without the direction of the lecturer. So the lecturer doesn't, I suppose from this point of view, if you wanted to run a live session, you'd be the one to start it within Canvas. But students, they have access to the Google Suite as students, so that would mean they have access to collaboration tools like Google Docs, etc. But they also have the ability to start Google Hangouts, and Google Hangouts would operate kind of in a similar way to this conferences feature, but it basically allows students to do their own sessions outside of Canvas and to keep that communication going. So IT services are supporting Google Hangouts, and there'll probably be more on that as well in time. But I suppose just from your point of view as lecturing staff, just to be aware of it. And also, you have the ability then to run live sessions from within Canvas using this conferences feature and have them recorded. So this would be the primary live option for lecturing staff. So who to contact? I suppose there's a number of supports here available. Canvas and the conferences or Big Blue Button feature are covered under Canvas Tier 1 support. So please, if there are queries, technical queries or anything to do with those services, maybe try to direct them to that 24/7 support line. The Technology Enhanced Learning team here also have a sort of a help desk option under the email address tel.team@cit.ie. And we're getting quite a number of queries in at the moment. We'll do our best to answer them as quickly as we can. But I suppose there will be, you know, a small time delay depending on the demand on our small team. But we'll do our very best, and we've already been engaging with staff on a number of queries so far. The Teams application, so that's Microsoft Teams, that's covered by IT services, and you can, if you have queries on that, service desk at CIT.ie is a good place to go. And that is sort of a staff-to-staff collaboration platform that's being pushed, and a lot of you are probably already aware of that. There's more resources being developed all of the time for all of the above, really. And, you know, as Gearóid said, that site that we've sort of taken over, our own site, the tell.cit.ie site, is a good place to look out for any updates, any additional resources. And as Gearóid said as well, we're going to try and get the community involved. You know, we're really interested in the stuff that our lecturing staff are already sending us, offering help and training that they've delivered. So really great to see that, and there'll be more of that, I suppose, available through our site as well. So I think that's it for just the remote teaching overview, everybody. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just stop the live stream in a moment and open it up to questions through Zoom. But for everyone tuned in live, thanks very much for tuning in, and do keep an eye out for those dedicated sessions where we'll be doing some, you know, focused training on those 3 options. So on Canvas, on the recording content, and also on delivering live. So those 3 options. So they'll be covered in the next couple of days. So thanks very much for tuning in, everybody. We're just about on the right time as well there, and we'll see you soon. There's 2 more of these sessions as well today. So these are identical sessions that run at those times advertised. So keep an eye out on the upcoming training and support area as well.